Learn to be a man for once, Cameron. That's what my wife Brooke yelled as she gunned the Honda CR-V and left me standing at the Shell gas station on Highway 287 in Laramie, Wyoming, 180 miles from home in Fort Collins, Colorado. Her sisters Tiffany and Kendall laughing in the back seat like it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. My name is Cameron Mitchell. I'm 36 years old. Been a site supervisor for Bradley Construction for 12 years. Make $82,000 a year plus overtime. I manage crews of 8 to 15 guys on commercial projects worth $500,000 to $3.2 million. We'd driven up to Cheyenne for Frontier Days. Supposed to be a fun weekend getaway. Just the four of us in Brooke's car, splitting gas money and hotel costs. The whole ride up, something felt wrong. Brooke kept looking at her sisters in the rearview mirror, whispering when they thought I wasn't listening. When I asked what was going on, she'd smile and say, "Nothing, babe. Just sister stuff." If you like stories about family betrayal and how justice always comes for those who deserve it, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. Every day there are completely new stories, each one more intense than the last. I should have trusted my gut. We'd stopped for gas about an hour outside Laramie. I went inside to grab coffee and use the restroom. When I came out, they were already in the car, engine running. Brooke rolled down the window with this weird grin. "Get in the car, Brooke," I said, walking toward the passenger door. "Actually," she said, "we've been talking. We think you need to learn some independence." "What are you talking about?" Tiffany leaned forward from the back seat. "You're always so clingy, Cameron," following Brooke around like a lost puppy. "We thought this would be good for you." Kendall chimed in. "A little adventure." I stood there, keys in my hand. Except they weren't car keys. They were house keys. My F-150 truck was back home in Fort Collins, parked in our driveway. "This isn't funny," I said. "Whatever joke this is, cut it out." Brooke's smile got wider. "It's not a joke. It's a prank. You're always so serious, Cameron. Learn to laugh a little." That's when she yelled, "Learn to be a man for once," and hit the gas. I watched their taillights disappear down Highway 287. Standing there at 3:47 p.m. on Saturday, July 27, 2024, at the Shell station on 2847 Grand Avenue. The temperature was 95 degrees. Storm clouds building in the west. The Wyoming wind cut through my work shirt, and I could smell rain coming. I had my wallet, my phone, and a growing realization that my wife and her sisters had just abandoned me in the middle of nowhere. Standing in that gas station parking lot, watching the storm clouds roll over the hills, I realized I'd been wrong. Not about being a good husband, but about who I was married to. I called Brooke's phone, straight to voicemail. Called Tiffany. Same thing. Kendall had blocked my number months ago after some argument I couldn't even remember. That's when I knew this wasn't some stupid prank that would end in an hour. This was something else entirely. I walked back into the gas station and asked the clerk about getting home. "No bus service here," he said. "Greyhound stops in Cheyenne, about 50 miles east. An Uber to Cheyenne cost me $127. Money I couldn't really afford to waste. The bus ticket to Denver was $89. 8.5-hour ride through the night on an uncomfortable seat with broken springs. I had plenty of time to think about my marriage and the woman I'd spent the last 4 years trying to make happy. My back ached from the cheap seat, and every bump in the road reminded me how far I was from home. I'd met Brooke in 2019 at a home improvement expo. She was doing marketing for a booth display company. Smart, funny, made me feel like I was the only person in the room when she talked to me. We got married in 2021. Wedding cost $28,000. I paid $19,600 of it. We bought a house in Fort Collins for $340,000. I put down $68,000 from my savings. Monthly mortgage payment was $200. I paid that every month, plus utilities, plus most of the groceries. Her sisters were different from day one. Tiffany was 35, worked as a real estate agent for Coldwell Banker, made about $95,000 a year. She'd been divorced twice and had opinions about everything. Kendall was the youngest at 29, freelance graphic designer, lived with her parents, made maybe $25,000, $40,000 depending on the year. From the beginning, they treated me like I was taking their sister away from them. Family dinners where they'd make inside jokes I couldn't follow. Vacations where they'd book activities without asking if I wanted to join. Small things that added up over time. "They're just protective," Brooke would say whenever I brought it up. "They'll warm up to you." But they never did. If anything, they got worse after we got married. Tiffany started making comments about how I held Brooke back from traveling more, from taking risks. Kendall would roll her eyes whenever I offered to help with anything. I started noticing other things too. How Brooke would text constantly when we were together, always with her sisters. How she'd change plans at the last minute because Tiffany or Kendall had some crisis. Last year, Brooke forgot our anniversary because she was helping Kendall move apartments. Earlier this year, she missed my birthday dinner because Tiffany was having problems with her boyfriend. Family comes first, she'd always say. I got that, I respected it. But I was supposed to be family too. The warning signs were there during the drive to Wyoming. How they'd insisted I didn't need to bring my truck because we'd all ride together. How Brooke had booked the hotel room under her name only. How Tiffany kept making jokes about how I never did anything spontaneous. "Remember when you used to be fun?" Kendall had asked from the back seat. "Before you got all domestic and boring." I'd laughed it off, but it stung. I worked 60-hour weeks managing construction crews. I fixed things around the house, planned our vacations, remembered important dates. I thought that was what being a good husband meant. The bus pulled into Denver Union Station at 8 a.m. Sunday morning. I took a taxi home, expecting to find Brooke's car in the driveway. But it wasn't there. The house was empty, exactly like we'd left it Friday morning. I sat at the kitchen table and called in sick to work. Then I did something I'd never done before. I started going through Brooke's things. Her MacBook was password protected, but she'd always been careless about closing browser tabs. Chrome had auto-saved her login to everything. I found the group chat between her and her sisters going back 4 months. Screenshots of our text conversations that she'd shared with them, complete with laughing emojis. Photos of me sleeping that she'd sent them with captions like "dead to the world as usual" and "zero awareness." But it was the thread about the Wyoming trip that broke something inside me. March 15th, Tiffany had written, "We should totally ditch him somewhere and see how long it takes him to figure out how to get home." Kendall replied, "OMG, yes. He's so dependent on Brooke for everything. Zero survival skills." March 16th, Brooke, "You guys are terrible, but also it would be hilarious. He probably doesn't even know how to book a hotel room." But what I didn't expect was how detailed their plan had gotten. July 20th, Tiffany, "Laramie gas station, perfect spot. Middle of nowhere, no cell service." July 22nd, Kendall, "If he somehow makes it home before us, he'll probably just call his mom." July 25th, Brooke, "Final plan. Stop for gas, send him inside for snacks, drive off. Film his reaction for TikTok." They'd planned every detail. The gas station stop, the story about needing independence, even filming it for social media. There was a draft TikTok video on Brooke's account titled "Abandoning My Husband Prank." I found Venmo transactions showing Tiffany had sent Brooke $200 for gas money LOL the week before the trip. The hotel booking confirmation showed 3 guests, not 4. They'd never planned for me to stay the night. I closed the laptop and sat there for a long time. Then I went upstairs, packed a bag, and left. I didn't leave a note. I didn't turn off the utilities. I just walked out the same way they'd driven away from me. The difference was I wasn't coming back. I drove my F-150 to my brother Blake's place in Loveland. He worked as an electrician and had a spare bedroom in his house on Riverside Drive. When I showed up at his door with a duffel bag and no explanation, he just nodded and handed me a beer. "How long you staying?" he asked. "Don't know yet." Blake had never liked Brooke. He'd never said it outright, but I could tell by the way he'd get quiet when she was around. How he'd always have some excuse to leave early at family gatherings. I told him what happened. All of it. The prank, the group chats, the months of planning behind my back. "Jesus, Cameron," he said when I finished. "You're better off without her." Monday morning, I called my supervisor at Bradley Construction and requested a transfer to our Pueblo project. We'd been short-handed on a hospital expansion job, and they needed experienced supervisors. My boss didn't ask questions. Just said I could start Wednesday, and they'd give me a $3,500 relocation allowance. Tuesday afternoon, I met with Patricia Hammond, a family law attorney who specialized in divorce cases. Her rate was $350 an hour with a $5,000 retainer. I also hired a private investigator, Mike Santos, for $200. Professional guy who specialized in digital forensics and gathering evidence for family court cases. "Do you have documentation of the harassment?" she asked. I showed her the group chat screenshots, the TikTok drafts, the Venmo transactions. "And you said she went to your brother's house?" "Yeah, showed up Sunday night demanding to know where I was." Patricia made notes on her legal pad. "We can work with this. Colorado is a no-fault divorce state, but the evidence of premeditation could be relevant for asset division." I signed the papers that afternoon. Patricia would handle serving Brooke and starting the proceedings. "One more thing," she said as I was leaving. "Don't engage with any contact attempts. Don't respond to calls, texts, or in-person visits. Anything you say can be used against you. What if she shows up at my work? Document it. Call the police if necessary, but don't engage." The hospital expansion project was good work. Steady hours, decent pay, and nobody cared about my personal life as long as I showed up and did my job. I found a 2-bedroom apartment on Desert Rose Lane for $2,200 a month. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. For the first time in years, I could make decisions without checking with someone else first. Started taking evening classes at the community college. Business management, something I'd always been interested in but never had time for when Brooke and her sisters were constantly demanding attention. 2 weeks after I'd filed for divorce, the harassment started. Monday morning, my phone started ringing. Brooke, over and over. 23 calls before noon. Tuesday, the calls came from numbers I didn't recognize. Tiffany's phone, Kendall's boyfriend, their cousin from Denver. Always the same message. I was overreacting. It was just a joke. I needed to come home. Thursday, Blake called me at the construction site. "Your wife's here," he said. "She's sitting in her car outside my house." I met her in Blake's driveway before she could knock on his door. She got out of the Honda, looking tired and desperate. "Cameron, thank God," she said, reaching for me. "I've been so worried." I stepped back. "What do you want, Brooke?" "I want you to come home. I want us to talk about this like adults." "Talk about what?" "How you abandoned me 180 miles from home. How you and your sisters planned it for months." Her face changed. The concerned wife act dropped for just a second, and I saw something else underneath. Irritation, like I was being unreasonable. "It was a prank, Cameron. You're acting like we committed a crime. You left me stranded. You laughed about it. You planned it for months. Because you needed it," she said. And there it was. The real reason. "You're so dependent, so clingy. We thought if you had to figure something out on your own for once, maybe you'd grow up a little." I looked at this woman I'd been married to for 4 years and realized I didn't know her at all. "I'm not coming home," I said. "Don't be ridiculous. You can't just disappear because your feelings got hurt. Watch me." I turned and walked back to Blake's house. She followed, talking faster now, making promises and threats, but I stopped listening. When I closed the front door, she was still talking in the driveway. Friday morning, my mother called from Durango. "Cameron, honey, Brooke came by the house." I'd been avoiding my parents' calls, not ready to explain the separation yet. But apparently Brooke had no such hesitation. "What did she tell you?" I asked. "She said you're having some kind of breakdown. That you disappeared after a family trip and won't answer her calls." I could hear the worry in my mother's voice. Mom had always liked Brooke, thought she was good for me. "It's not a breakdown, Mom. We're having problems." "What kind of problems that can't be worked out?" I didn't want to get into details. Didn't want to explain the group chats or the planning or the months of manipulation. It would sound petty, like I was overreacting to a joke. "I'll call you later, Mom. I need to think about some things." But after I hung up, I realized Brooke was still playing the game, still controlling the narrative, making me look like the unstable one who'd abandoned his marriage over nothing. 3 weeks later, Blake called me at work. "Your wife's been busy," he said. "Patricia wants to talk to you. Says it's important." I met Patricia at her office that afternoon. She had a stack of papers on her desk and a satisfied look on her face. "Your wife hired Michael Torres," she said. "Good lawyer, expensive, $4.50 an hour. They're claiming abandonment and asking for spousal support of $2,800 a month." Abandonment? They're arguing that you left without warning and refused marriage counseling. But here's the interesting part. She showed me printouts from Instagram and Facebook. Mike Santos, our investigator, found these. Your wife and her sisters posted photos from their weekend in Wyoming, celebrating at Cowboys Saloon in Cheyenne. Posted Saturday night at 9:47 p.m. The photos showed all 3 of them raising shot glasses. Huge smiles. One caption read, "Girls Weekend Freedom." Another showed Kendall wearing my Denver Broncos hat with "Freedom feels good" as the caption. "This destroys their narrative," Patricia said. "They can't claim they were worried about your mental state while simultaneously celebrating your absence." That's when everything really started to unravel for them. "There's more," Patricia continued. Mike found the complete digital trail. Your wife was careless about privacy settings on her social media accounts. We have the full timeline of their planning, including backup messages and deleted files they thought were gone forever. She handed me another stack of papers, screenshots I hadn't seen before. Months of conversations making jokes about my reactions, betting on how long it would take me to crawl back home. But the most damaging evidence was a series of messages from the weekend they abandoned me. Saturday, 4:23 p.m., 30 minutes after they left me. Tiffany to the group. "Think he's figured out we're not coming back yet?" Saturday, 6:45 p.m. Kendall, probably still standing there like a lost dog. Saturday, 9:15 p.m. Brooke, check his location. Still in Laramie. This is perfect. The timestamp data from their phones showed they were 200 miles away, partying, while I was trying to figure out how to get home. "We file our response tomorrow," Patricia said. "And then we end this." The divorce hearing was scheduled for Tuesday morning, October 15th, at the Larimer County Justice Center in Fort Collins. I wore my best suit, the one I'd gotten married in 4 years earlier. Brooke sat at the other table with Michael Torres. She'd lost weight, looked tired. When our eyes met across the courtroom, she tried to smile like we were still on the same team. Torres went first. Painted me as an unstable husband who'd abandoned his wife after a minor disagreement. Said I disappeared without warning, refused counseling, and was trying to punish Brooke for a harmless prank. Your Honor, Torres said, Mr. Cameron Mitchell was clearly looking for an excuse to leave his marriage. He used a simple misunderstanding between family members as justification for abandoning his responsibilities. Patricia stood up when it was our turn. She was calm, professional, deadly. The courtroom had a big screen for evidence presentation. Your Honor, I'd like to submit evidence that contradicts the petitioner's claims. She clicked through a PowerPoint presentation showing the group chat messages, timestamps, and social media posts. The whole timeline projected on the screen for everyone to see. These are text messages between the petitioner and her sisters, planning what they call a prank for months in advance. Here are social media posts from the night they abandoned my client, celebrating their actions. And here are records of 340 attempted contacts after my client requested no communication. The judge reviewed the documents in silence. Torres whispered urgently to Brooke, but I could see the panic in her face. Furthermore, Patricia continued, the petitioner has been spreading false claims about my client's mental state to mutual friends and family members. This is a pattern of manipulation and emotional abuse, not the actions of a concerned spouse. The evidence was overwhelming. Text messages displayed on the big screen, photos with timestamps, financial records showing I'd contributed 73% of our joint assets. My brother Blake testified about witnessing years of manipulation. My coworker Travis Coleman gave a statement about Brooke calling my workplace and disrupting the job site. My supervisor Jerry Manning confirmed that Brooke had called him multiple times claiming I was having a mental breakdown. At one point, Torres tried to question the authenticity of the digital evidence, but Mike Santos took the stand and explained his forensic process. Professional investigator with 15 years of experience, certified in digital forensics. The evidence was bulletproof. When Judge Sandra Reeves finally looked up, her expression was neutral but firm. Based on the evidence presented, I'm granting the divorce as requested. Assets will be divided 60% to the respondent, 40% to the petitioner, reflecting the respondent's greater financial contribution. No spousal support will be awarded. The court finds clear evidence of premeditated emotional abuse by the petitioner and her family members. She also extended the restraining order for 2 years and ordered Brooke to pay court costs of $8,400. Brooke tried to approach me in the courthouse hallway, but Patricia stepped between us. No contact, she said firmly. The order is still in effect. I walked to my truck without looking back. That was 1 year ago. The business management courses I'd been taking at community college paid off. 6 months after the divorce, I got promoted to senior project manager at Bradley Construction. Salary went up to $94,000. I'm currently overseeing the $4.8 million Pueblo Community Hospital expansion. I started dating Sarah, an elementary school teacher I met at college. She's nothing like Brooke. Honest, straightforward, doesn't play games. We've been together 8 months now. Blake and I are starting Mitchell Construction next year. We've already got 3 contracts lined up for small commercial projects. 6 months ago, I ran into Travis Coleman at the hardware store in Fort Collins. I was up there picking up materials for a weekend project. You hear about Brooke? He asked. I hadn't thought about her in months. What about her? Married some guy from her work 6 months after your divorce was final. Lasted about a year. They split up last month. I picked up the screws I'd come for and headed toward the checkout. Don't you want to know what happened? Travis called after me. Not really, I said. And I meant it. As for Brooke and her sisters, they eventually faced the consequences of their actions. Brooke lost her marketing job when the story went viral on local social media. Her employer couldn't afford the negative publicity. After her second divorce, she had to move back in with her parents at age 34. Her dating profiles on apps kept getting recognized by people who'd heard the story. Tiffany had her real estate license suspended after an ethics investigation. Turns out the harassment campaign against me wasn't the first time she'd crossed professional boundaries. 2 major clients canceled their listings when they found out. Her third husband left her after learning about the harassment pattern. Her income dropped from $95,000 to $31,000 doing part-time admin work. Kendall's social circle collapsed when 6 of her close friends compared notes and realized she'd been spreading lies about multiple people, not just me. Her parents cut off her financial support and told her it was time to grow up. She had to move out and share an apartment with a stranger. Started therapy for anxiety and depression. The 3 of them became a cautionary tale in our social circle. Their story got shared in local Facebook groups as a warning about toxic family dynamics. 3 marriages in our friend group ended after the spouses compared notes and realized they'd been dealing with similar manipulation patterns from their own in-laws. Don't ever mistake kindness for weakness. Don't take advantage of good people. And remember that in the digital age, every text message, every plan, every action leaves a trail. Brooke and her sisters learned this the hard way. Sometimes justice comes slowly, but when it arrives, it's thorough and devastating. If you liked this story, hit that like button and leave a comment letting me know what you think about how Cameron handled this situation. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe and hit the notification bell to get alerts about new stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.